Hello. Welcome to another episode of Simply Put Podcast. I am your host, Cece. Again, I hope everybody, or like always, I should say, I hope everybody is having a beautiful and blessed day. Today, we have a few things to discuss. As you see, the topic for today is Heal to Love. But before I get into all of that, I want to go ahead and just give you an update on how everything went with Simply Put on Zoom. It went great. Now, I love doing it. I had a couple of people come on, which was really awesome. And one of the individuals who was on there actually texted me afterwards and said that they actually learned something from it and they really enjoyed it. So, of course, that pumped me up. So I'm like, okay, good. Because, when you start anything for the first time, you're always nervous. You don't know how it's coming across. And it was my first time doing a Zoom event or podcast. And I know it's certain things that I have to work on personally, but on the overall, it was definitely a success. However, your girl forgot to hit the record button. So unfortunately, I don't have a playback from it. So I can go ahead and put on Patreon and send back, because I did have individuals even afterwards asking for the playback for it. So I am learning. It's a process. I'm learning to trust the process. So Simply Put on Zoom did go very well. And of course, I am going to be doing more. I'm going to be trying to bring these to you all either once a week or every other week, depending on who I have scheduled, because I always want to make sure I'm bringing something new and exciting for it, because it is a paid event. So for the next Zoom we have, which is actually this Saturday, I'm so excited. I'm going to be having one of my close friends, Tiffany, come in, and we are going to be working out together. Yes, I've been trying to get this girl to come on and do some and show some different routines of working out, because she's always at the gym. She be on me at times, and even with my eating, and even though I deal with the herbs and all of that, we all need our village to help us, and Tiffany is definitely a part of my village. So I'm definitely happy and excited to have her on. And so on this Saturday at what time do I have it? At 1:00 Saturday, Pacific Standard Time. So that is 2:00 Central Standard Time and 3:00 Eastern Standard Time. So I'll have a flyer. I'll send all of that out. If you haven't subscribed to my mailing list, definitely do so by going to simplydivinity.com, and all of that will be in the link with this recording. So I'm going to be bringing her on. We're going to just be going over different routines and home workouts that you can do at home. So this is really good for just your overall health, keep your blood circulating, learning what not to do and what to do when you are working out, so you do not hurt yourself or cause any damage. If you're in the healing process, from being an athlete or anything, from the past, we just want to make sure that everything is done safely and you know exactly what you're doing, because I know I have tried doing certain things at home and it's either my back is hurting, so I'm not sure if I did it right. So learning these little ins and outs, I think it's going to be really good for myself and hopefully for whoever participates. Again, anybody who participates on the Simply Put Zoom do get a bonus gift, and that is either a percentage off on your order, free consultations, free follow-up calls. And so it can be a mixture. Sometimes it might be free product. So every time I'm going to be bringing something a little bit different so people can have a little bonus to go back from. Or you might get a free pass for the next couple of Simply Put on Zoom. So it just all depends on what the topic is on that episode, so it can relate to it and it can help you continue on with it. So definitely look out for that. Very excited about it. Now, today's topic is something that I've actually been wanting to talk about for a while. Healing to love. Now, I feel like this topic is very important, even for those who are coming to heal their body, because in certain situations, and I can go by my own experience and even other clients' experiences, is that it's a process. The healing is a process. You have to trust it. And depending on what you're coming for healing for, because some people are coming to us for depression, anxiety, and things along those lines. And it stems a little bit deeper than just, taking herbs. We have to focus on healing within, right? So we can then love ourselves more and be able to love others the way they deserve to be loved. And I think I'm probably going to go a little bit into like relationships, dealing with that. The healing process, and I can right now just speak on my own experience with it. It's a process because you're learning yourself, right? Especially as you get older. I'm in my 40s. And so we learn how to love ourselves all over again, especially when we've been through certain situations, certain relationships, and even individuals, can bring you down. And one day you're looking up in the mirror and you don't even recognize that individual because you lost yourself, within the race and with trying to fit in with society, with social media, or with the other person think that how you should be or how you should represent yourself. Not having enough knowledge about ourselves. I went through a phase to where I was not in a relationship. I pretty much dated myself. I focused on meditating more. I kept to myself. I was like in my own little shell because I realized it was certain things that I had to work on so it can help me heal within, because there's a lot of stuff that we go through, trauma that we compress, right? And we don't realize how our experience, make us who we are. But it's certain experience that we go through that we haven't healed from, right? So we try to forget it. We don't talk about it. A lot of us don't seek therapy or anything like that. So it still stems there. And when we go into new relationships, sometimes we can bring that baggage. I don't really want to call it baggage. It's just certain things that we haven't healed from, and we bring it on to the next person. And then sometimes we expect that individual to help us heal, which they can. But I feel like it's always better when we do the work ourselves, because you don't want to be dependent on somebody else in your healing process. You want to depend on God and yourself, right? And so it's a process. I feel like it's good, especially when you get out of relationships, right? It's good to go through a process to where you're just healing. You're cleansing yourself, right? You are getting to know yourself. You're reevaluating your last situation, in the areas where you may have gone wrong, because there's always two sides to every story, right? And so we have to realize in the areas that we went wrong so we can be able to be better for ourselves and for the next individual. Sometimes we mistake. I feel like the word love is used too loosely, right? If you love me, you won't leave me, right? But it doesn't mean that I depend on you, for love, or I depend on you for my happiness, right? That is something that I see a lot of individuals are seeking companionship. And they feel like their spouse is responsible for their happiness, their own personal happiness, their own personal growth, which I just believe that's wrong. I don't believe that we should be dependent on anybody when it comes to loving ourselves, how to love and respect ourselves, right? That comes from within. That comes from you going through so much stuff and you're like, enough is enough. It's time for me to switch it up. It's time for me to, hey, maybe I should start thinking about dating somebody else, because I'm always picking these type of guys or these type of females, and I keep getting the same results. And as they say, you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome, right? So it takes a moment to where we can't keep blaming other people, and we have to take a moment to look back at ourselves and see the areas that we need to work on as individuals. None of us, I don't know one person who's perfect with everything. We live and we learn. We, honest to God, we live and we learn. It's certain things that I've heard, when I was younger. Age ain't nothing but a number was something I was talking about my son's father with. Age ain't nothing but a number. And now that I'm like in my 40s, I get it. I get it. It's really nothing but a number, because I don't feel 40, right? I don't feel like I'm not 40, but I'm in my 40s. I don't feel like it, right? So life is a learning. It's a continuous learning of ourselves, learning how to deal with other people, other personalities, and all of that, right? And with that, we go through certain things, and it has some individuals being bitter after certain things that they go through, still blaming that person. And they say that we should forgive but not forget, right? Learn from our mistakes, or else we repeat them. We do it again, and that process keeps going over and over again until we learn from that. And all of that comes from learning ourselves, learning to understand ourselves. With that, learning how to love ourselves, taking everybody else out of the equation, right? And just focusing on self. I tell some of my clients that, and came from my aunt, that we need to focus on ourselves and be unapologetic with it. And I said this on a couple of other shows as well, because this is just so important, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I think one of the reasons why I keep saying this is because I used to feel guilty of just thinking of myself, because I'm so used to thinking of other people. But I'm up here putting out all this energy into other people, but I'm not feeding myself. I need to love on myself more, right? I can easily say this to somebody else, but am I doing it? Right? It's easy to give advice, but do we take, our own advice at times? And that's a part of, I think all of that is a part of healing. All of that is a part of learning about ourselves, learning how wonderful and great we really are. And there's nothing wrong with saying, like, man, I'm the bomb. I'm the shit. There's nothing wrong with boosting yourself up. I used to feel guilty, like, oh, I'm just, doing too much, but there's nothing wrong with doing too much, especially when you're speaking to yourself and you're saying it out loud. There's nothing, if we wait on other people to clap for us, we may never get that standing ovation, that pat on the back, that, hey, Shania and Cece, you're doing great. We may never get that. So what's wrong with giving it to ourselves? What's wrong with pumping ourselves up? Look, when I go through like depression, and I haven't really been through like any type of major depression in a very long time, thankfully, from the techniques that I learned that works for myself. When I get into, let me reverse that. When I used to get into that depression mode, meditation was definitely the number one thing. That was the first step for me. Within that meditation, I was able to go through different phases of me realizing certain things about myself, me patting myself on the back, me realizing just how dope Cece really is, and being okay with that, right? And then after I go through all of that and I'm building myself up, because again, we can't wait for other people to help make us right, to help heal us, to help make us happy, to know what love is. If we can't love ourselves, how can we love somebody else? So I wanted to do the work, because I realized that I wasn't loving myself enough. I love myself, but I wasn't loving myself enough. I was giving more attention to other people than I was myself. And there's nothing wrong with helping other people or anything like that, but we have to first help ourselves. You can't have a toxic mind and be out there trying to preach to other people when you got all these other things that you need to still work out and fix within, right? So we have to focus ourselves before we can start giving advice to others. And that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show and talk about it is because I've learned so much within these past few years. And for me, it all started around pandemic. that's when I had my real hard downfall as far as like, well, was it the no, actually it was a little bit before the pandemic, but I realized what it was during the pandemic, and how in different methods I used to come out of it, because I didn't like feeling that way. So besides the meditation, I would watch something funny that will force me to laugh, force me to, feel good in some form, right? It allowed me to be good, and that helped me get into a better headspace. And then I would go back to meditating before I go to bed. I would listen to different clips. I have one clip on my YouTube which definitely helped me. It's a vibrational type of video, and it just had me waking up. Like, I felt like it worked some magic on me or something. I know it didn't, but I'm just saying it felt like it, because when I woke up, I was feeling good. I was feeling like, okay, the world is at your fingertips, Shanair. It's all a matter about what you're going to put into it, right? And I loved it. And so I'm going through all of these every day. I'm going through knowing myself more. I'm going through looking at the mirror and saying, I love you, Shanair. Saying, you are the shit, Shanair. Showing myself, giving myself more attention, right? I think a lot of the times, unless you're just one of those vain people who's always in the mirror and stuff like that. And even when we're doing selfies, it's not the same as really looking in the mirror and looking at yourself, right? And I started doing that. I started looking in the mirror, because it's crazy. Before, I wasn't even able to look in the mirror and even look myself straight in the eye. I don't know how many other people can feel me on that, but have you ever tried to just not to be like on no selfie stuff, not to be checking out your makeup or washing your face, anything like that, but just straight up look in the mirror and look yourself in the eye and tell yourself you are dope. And think about how that makes you feel. And does it make you feel silly? Because at first it made me feel silly, and now it makes me feel more empowered. It was silly that it made me feel silly. And I realized, hey, why am I feeling like this? I'm talking to myself. Why am I feeling silly talking to myself, telling myself how great I am, how beautiful I am, how I'm the shit? Why did I feel that way? I was still in the process of realizing that I wasn't putting enough love and energy into myself. I was doing a lot out there, but I wasn't putting enough into myself. And I'm really thankful that, they say everything happens in your life for a reason. Sometimes God takes people out of your life, and sometimes sometimes, and let me back it up. They say people come and go for seasons. Sometimes people leave for a season and they come back also. And I had that, with quite a few people. And I felt like during that time, that's when it kind of goes back to the poem Footprints. That's the time to where I felt that I had to hold myself up. But before me holding myself up, it was that time for me and God, for God to lift me up until I was strong enough to hold myself up. So I couldn't have other people around me because I was going through a cleansing. And the universe, God, made sure that I had a clear path to be able to grow and love and heal myself before he brought the people back into my life. Some people, I still haven't seen them yet. I don't know if he's bringing them back. Only time will tell, right? But it's different chapters in our life, whether we realize it, we're going through it or not. There's different chapters in our life. And I'm so blessed, for me, with love. I love myself. Like, for sure. I love myself. I'm in love with myself. I'm in love with myself to where I believe in myself more. I can look myself in the mirror and I don't feel funny. I feel empowered. I feel so empowered that I'm able to empower other people on a whole different level. That's what my healing to love brought me at. It made me feel more empowered. No matter, I'm still going through different things. I'm still learning. There's still other situations in life that we go through. But as far as how I feel on the inside, which nobody can take away from me, I know that I love myself. And I know that with that love comes healing from everything else that I've been through, or currently going through, or will go through. But I know I have enough strength within myself to make it through, because I love myself too much to not work on it, to not be better for myself, to not be better for my son, my family, my now fiance. So I feel like we all have to work on healing ourselves. And even as you're taking, your herbs, your supplements, or you're going to the doctor, you're trying to get healing and stuff, it is important. It may not be a key ingredient in some cases, but in some cases it is good to love yourself. It's good to love yourself, and it's good to live. And a lot of situations in dealing with certain viruses and diseases, part of it is living. Because the more you keep yourself down and not living, and then the more you feel depressed, and your energy, your cells, your vibrant, all of that starts going down to where it feels like you're killing yourself. You have removed yourself from the world, and now you're in this dark place. When you remove yourself from the world, you feel empty, you feel alone, you feel left out. So when you live, you're putting yourself back out there to experience the world, to love the world. My Uncle Sabi says, love is delicious. And it is. And I think when he said that, I don't know about loving the whole world, because the whole world is a trip, right? But when he says that, and I hear it now, because I replay it sometimes because I like the way he says it, I think about myself first. I think about my son. I think about my fiance. I think about my mom, my brother, my nephew, my sister-in-law, my aunties, my cousins, and all of my friends, who are also now my family. I think about all of those people, who I genuinely love, and I know who genuinely loves me back. And I'm able to see who is really there, because now I have love in me. And so now I'm able to recognize it more. It's much clearer, and it's not smoke and mirrors, right? I'm able to see it now, because now I know what love feels like. I know what my heart desires, and if my heart desires love, I want to attract love. And if there's a red flag from somebody who's portraying that they love me and they really don't, and I'm not just talking about relationship, I'm talking about just friendship, or just being a good person, because they say you should love thy neighbor. You should, because that person, as far as you know, that person has done nothing to you. So why treat them like crap when they've done nothing to you? They say respect is earned. No, it's automatically given. Why not respect the next person? I don't even know you, you don't know me. So we don't got time to earn it, right? We should automatically be given respect, and we should automatically have love for others until you show me something different. But now, because I have love in my heart, I can recognize it, at least, right? So the healing process is not just with your foods. It's not just with going to the doctor or having a consultation with us, and taking your herbs and all of that. A part of the healing process is also recognizing your worth, who you are, dating yourself, knowing what's really compatible for you, right? Loving yourself. So you're able to reciprocate that. You're able to see it when somebody else is trying to give it to you as well. They say, I talked to a couple of people, and we talked about relationships. Relationship is always something people talk about, because it's always something that we're trying to work on. And a lot of us wants to be in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. I always wanted to be in a relationship. I want to be off the market. So I'm blessed that this man came into my life and making me an honest woman, as he would say, right? So A lot of us can't give love because we never had it, so we don't know what it looks like. So we get into these relationships with individuals, and you wonder why this is not happening or this is not happening. But do we really stop and check that other person's background to see how was they raised? Because I'm sorry, that plays a big part. How was you raised? Did you get love growing up from anybody? If your parents wasn't there, did you get love from anybody? Do you know what love is so you are able to give it back? I think it's as simple as that. And I think a lot of us don't realize, we look at love. Somebody can be getting beat on or can be getting verbally abused by somebody and they think it's love. It's really just the sex that's good. That's really what it is. And the fact that they don't want to be alone, but that's not really love. Because love is not going to put their hands on you. Love is just not going to do certain things. Yeah, you might get mad at the person you're in love with, but there's certain things that love just don't do. I'm sorry. And we give a lot of excuses with that. And there's no excuse at the end of the day. So we get in relationships and we deal with people. We deal with their headaches and all of that, because we think we love them. But are we able to, let's say we do have love in our heart, right? But this person don't know what love is. So they like being treated any type of way because they think that's what love is, because that's what they seen with their mom and their dad. Either the dad growing up, hitting on the mom. There's always yelling and screaming, or maybe it was just the energy and vibe that they picked up as a young girl or a young boy, and this is the energy that they was brought up in, so they feel like it's normal and they feel like that's love. So we project that out in our relationships because this is what we grew up knowing, not knowing that that's not real, that's not normal, that's not normal in the sense of what love is supposed to bring to the home, to the household, within our hearts. So we have to be careful about the people that we choose to say I love you to. We have to be careful on loving somebody more than we love ourselves. I don't care what the situation is. You don't put somebody else before yourself, because I can't save you if I'm drowning. That comes with your kids, your husband, all of that. Like, I can't, if I'm not in the right place, how can I help you? How can I love you? How can I be there for you? How can I save you from drowning and I don't even know how to swim? I can throw something in here, and hope that you make it, but it'll be better if I knew how to swim so I can come out and save you, right? And I feel like that's the same thing with love. I just really feel like at the end of the day, it's something very simple. Just like what's right and what's wrong, at the end of the day, it's something very simple. It's not something that we have to look into. It's not something we have to really question, a whole lot. If there's any type of doubts, then a conversation needs to be had. Because there shouldn't be any doubts. I don't know. When we think about our parents, when we think about our kids, is there any doubts that comes to your mind as far as if you love them or not? And if and that means when we're loving somebody else, loving this man or loving ourselves or loving this woman or loving this friend, there should be no doubts either. I don't feel like love should have any doubts. But if we don't know what love is, there's most likely going to be a lot of doubts, because we're going to be going through the emotions. We're going to go through the emotions, because a lot of people say they love each other in the midst of having sex. That's what it is. I've done that. I won't lie, because it sounds good. And at the time, it makes the whole session a little bit better, too. But the problem is, half of the party really believes that, and the other half realizes this is something that it was just done in the moment. So it's used too loosely. It's used too loosely for people who really are not looking for it right now, and they're with somebody who deep down, whether they admit it or not, they want it. But I guarantee that if we loved ourselves more, then most likely we probably wouldn't have been in the bed with that person to begin with, because we already knew this is the person. If I want love, this is the person. This is not the person I'm supposed to be in the bed with. Now, if I just want to play around and, do whatever, then that's a totally another topic. That's a totally another show, right? But we're talking about love. We're talking about real love. So I think I'm going to definitely bring in some clients, and we're definitely going to talk about that, because I know I've had clients, and I know that they're dealing with certain things, and they can't even get to this healing process until they deal with their own personal stuff. And a lot of that hits home, and it has to do with love, right? And so I think it'll be good, for me to bring in other people so you can see where other people are coming at, because you're never alone, and no matter what you do, you're never alone. There's always somebody who is going through the same thing as you. Right? So just remember that. If you don't take anything else away from this show today, just remember that you're not alone. There's somebody else who is currently going through what you're going through, or have gone through what you're going through. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. You will make it through. And I want to challenge you also to go ahead and look at yourself in the mirror and just praise yourself. There's nothing wrong with giving yourself praise. There's nothing wrong with telling yourself you are the shit, because you are. So if you can't tell yourself that, then let's work on it to where you can tell yourself that and you believe it. Right? Because we be quick to tell somebody else all type of stuff when we can't even tell ourselves that. So that's what I want to leave this show with today, is challenging yourself. Realizing, do you really love yourself, and do you show yourself how much you love yourself? This is your host, Cece, and I hope you guys enjoyed this show. And until next time, and I hope to see you guys this Saturday at Simply Put on Zoom. Peace.